repeatedly raised the anguish that my constituents, the parents of Chloe Rutherford and Liam Curry, are going through. Chloe and Liam were murdered in the Manchester Arena terror attack. Archaic law in relation to terror attacks prevents my constituents and all other grieving parents from registering their precious children's death. Instead, the registration will be done by a registrar, a complete stranger to the family. I first raised this in March with the Home Office and the Ministry of Justice.
Hello, Lisa and Caroline. Nice to meet you in real life. We've chatted on the phone before. Hi, Emma. Good to see you too. We're joined also by Mr. and Mrs. Hurley, who we're not going to chat to today because they don't want to, but they want to be here to support you when you're all going to a meeting that we're going to talk about in a moment. But first of all, Lisa, Caroline, whichever one of you wants to start, tell me what happened to your family on May the 22nd, 2017.
So I'm Chloe Rutherford's mum and Caroline is Liam Curry's mum. And we lost our children. They were murdered in the Manchester Arena bombing on the 22nd of May 2017. 22 people lost their lives. And we're here today because we have been, well, it's been implied that we're not able to be part of their death certificate, which we have spoke out before. And it's something that we feel passionate about. Is the last thing we can do for our children. And it's been a long time. It'll be 6 years in May. And this has gone on a long time. We have only been able to sort of come in and discuss this sort of thing in the last few years because all we got was an interim death certificate.
When you give birth to a child, you get that choice whether you register that birth or not. If you haven't registered it within the 6 weeks, the state registers for you. Why is that option not given to us to register their deaths? That I gave birth to Liam, so therefore that responsibility lies with me. I understand the legalities that a coroner, because of the way Liam died, the coroner must register the cause of death. I understand that. Yeah. But it's such a simple tweak to be able to say, would the families like to be involved? All I want to do is give his details, his name, his address, my name as the informant. That's all I want to do. That, to me, will begin my grieving process. Yeah. So why should a bureaucrat take that away from me as a parent?
I think the word is choice. We understand that some people may be quite happy for the process to take its course. But for us, it's about having a choice. And I know there's other families like we have with us today who would like that choice. And it seems like we've been told it's quite a small tweak to be done. And now we're in a position where this has been being talked about for too long. And we are actually having the final report next week.
I know. I want to ask you about that.
And that's quite an important date because we are under the understanding that this all changes once that happens. So we're now up against it. And it needs...
What do you mean it all changes once? Because the final report of the public inquiry is published next week, as you say. What changes when that is published?
So what we were told was once the inquiry is finished, that's when the death certificates will be dealt with.
And you haven't personally... And
so we're nowhere near that position.
Right, okay, that's a really important point. So currently nobody has registered their deaths because it is subject to an inquiry.
Exactly.
And you want to be sure that when that day comes...
Yes.
You will be able to register Chloe and Liam's.
So our questions today will be, why or where are you now with the process?
We're days away. Emma, you've raised this, you're their MP, you've raised this loads in Parliament. What's the pushback?
I mean, I'm losing my patience with various ministers. This is our third ministerial meeting now. How many times do Lisa and Caroline have to tell their story? And, this is very difficult stuff to talk about, and they're having to constantly repeat their story to different ministers and being given false hope. it's about political will, isn't it? You know, the government are now saying that there simply isn't the time. Well, I raised it nearly over a year ago, and they rushed through other bits of legislation. We've just seen in recent times, you know, the Coronavirus Act, nearly 350 pages. They got that done in 7 days. There's been multiple changes to the Births, Deaths and Registration Act already over recent years, because the two acts were wrote in 1926 and 1953. They're clearly not really fit for purpose anymore. So again, they've changed these acts already in recent years. It's about the political will for me, and I'm getting quite angry and frustrated that they're not doing this, because they could do this if they wanted to. The government set parliamentary time. They can find the time to do this. Nobody in the House would object to this. There is nobody, no MP is going to stand up in Parliament and say, I'm sorry, we're not letting you change that for these families. It wouldn't happen. So it's a simple case of finding a bit of parliamentary time to get it through, and they won't.
Because we have so much taken away from us when we lost the kids, you know, at the end of the day, because of the circumstances, along with the pain of all of that, this just seems cruel, is the answer.
We're coming up for 6 years.
Yeah.
And you should be, you will never get over this, but you should be on your journey through the various stages of grief and rebuilding whatever life you can. But you have been battling.
Yeah.
We definitely are not in any grieving process. I'm still stuck in that day, that night. Things like this just add extra unnecessary upset. As you've rightly said, you know, we're still waiting for the third report, so inquiry is still going on. That's really hard and has took a physical and obviously mental health is impacted, understandably, for everyone involved.
I don't want to distress you anymore, so if this is distressing, then let's not do it. But I wondered if I've read about Liam and Chloe, this clearly remarkable people that you brought into the world. Do you want to tell me a little bit about your son and daughter?
I think in relation to this, I'm hoping they're proud of us.
Yeah.
I think they would know that we would want this. I know I spoke to Emma about my worry, you know, in years to come, grandchildren or family, trying to find the history of, you know, their family, and not having my name on there just seems wrong. I know Chloe, they lived life to the full. They were, you know, in their prime of life, if you like, you know, enjoying college, new jobs, university. They had plans, and yeah, you know, that's devastating. But I do hope they're proud of what we're trying to do, because they know how important this would be to us.
Yeah. And for Liam, Liam had just registered his own dad's death, so I need to do it. I need to do it for me.
The third and final report is out next week of the public inquiry. It's sort of related because of the subject and the deadline that provides, but is there anything that you're looking for in that report more generally?
I think that personally is for another day, but at the moment, connected to this, it's dates, it's times, I'm going to have fear next week that the death certificate is just done.
Yeah.
And we have no control over that. I use wording, and I'm going to do it again because it's important to me. I feel like an insignificant cog in a huge wheel, that everybody else has the power and the decisions, and everything is decided for you. And this is really important. This is personal. This is not actually about the inquiry. This is about our children who have died, and we as parents feel really strongly about being able to do this.
We just want to be able to do the right thing for our kids. You know, it's like you can't be bothered to do it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just, you just do it. No, let us do it. Give us the choice. Some families don't want to do it, that's fine. But have a little ticky box that says the family would like to be involved, and then we can go along at a later date to the registration office with a number, a reference number, and do the personal bit. That's all we're asking. It's not It's not a massive ask. And if these ministers could just for 1 minute take off the office job head and put on the parent head, would they want their son or daughter to have their registration details registered by a total stranger? They wouldn't. They'd want to do it themselves as a parent.
I'm going to be waiting for you. Rooting for you all. Obviously, Mr. and Mrs. Hurley will be fighting for the right to register Megan's death. I'll be waiting for you to tell me exactly what happened, rooting for you all that meeting results in what you need for Chloe and Liam. Okay.
Thank you.
So, I waited for an hour while they were at the meeting, but only MP Emma Llewellyn-Buck came back.
Emma, it's just you that's come back.
Yeah.
Lisa and Caroline aren't with you. What's happened?
They felt very disrespected in the meeting. The Home Office Minister from the Lords was quite patronising. And we were led to believe through previous meetings with MOJ and Home Office,
Ministry of Justice and the Home Office.
Yeah, that there was a concerted effort to try and do this, and that they were just trying to find a way. And what we found out today is actually there's no political will to do that, and it's a policy decision of this government that they don't want to change it. So it's got nothing to do with they kept obfuscating and going round and dancing on the head of a pin. But essentially we're talking about a very narrow legislative change here where they could put safeguards in so that the integrity of the coronial process wasn't damaged in any way at all. And essentially the bottom line is they don't want to.
How are Caroline and Lisa?
Absolutely distraught. That's why they've not come back with me. They asked if I could come back and talk to you. They're really, really disappointed. Myself and Maria have made it very clear to
Maria
both
Regal, who's
the
MP, who was the representative of Mr. and Mrs. Hurley, who we saw.
Yeah, so me and her have made it both incredibly clear that we're not happy. This isn't the end of it, and we're not going to leave it there, and that we are both incredibly angry on behalf of our constituents. And I'm hurt for them. I'm really hurt for them. Been through them, through everything, seen everything they've been through, and to then find out that they've come here today and
at their own expense. There's no expense to get them to come to these meetings with ministers.
To be told, well, actually, we're just not going to do it. And the last letter that we received from both ministers very clearly stated, we are looking at this, and it seemed positive, and we're looking at options for the longer term. But today it was very clear they're not even looking at options for the longer term. That is it. It's not happening.
I'm sorry. I think everybody who will watch will want to extend their love to Lisa and Caroline. Of course, will approach the Ministry of Justice to get their response, but give them all our love on what must be a very difficult day after the most impossible 6 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lord Murray and the government as a whole remain steadfast in our commitment to the families whose lives have been devastated by the senseless attack at Manchester Arena. Currently, after an inquest, all details must be provided by the coroner alone. Any change to the law would need to consider its wider impact, including how it would affect those bereaved families who do not wish to provide information to register the deaf when they have already provided this to the inquest. We acknowledge the seriousness of the matter and are committed to seeing what can be done via non-legislative means. We have offered the bereaved families the option of being present at the registration of their loved one's death if they wish to do so.